Douglas MacKinnon rode on the Hill this weekend is a potential trap being set by seemingly loyal Republican senators. I don't even know what loyal Republican senators mean anymore. Douglas MacKinnon joins us now. Hello, Doug. How are you?
Glenn, thanks for having me back on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, not a problem. I'm fascinated by this. Tell me the theory here.
Well, the theory is, I think, that, as we have talked about in the past, I had the high honor to work for President Reagan in the White House as well as Bush 1. And I think this White House, as good as they are, and I'm a supporter of the president, I think Trump is the best president since President Reagan. That said, I do believe the president and the West Wing are putting way too much faith in the Senate. And it's one of these things where I talked to one senior staffer and a former senior staffer up on the Hill who told me that there were a number of meetings going on behind closed doors between a number of Republican senators, and the fear is that with the weight of history, and as you and I understand very, very well, even most, quote, as you just said, what's a loyal Republican senator, right? Because the vast majority of these Republican senators, either privately or publicly, can't stand President Trump for a lot of reasons. The main reason being, Glenn, they can't control him. They've never been able to control him.
Right.
They can't predict what he's going to do. And so because of that, does it make more sense for them to have someone who's part of the club become president, and someone who's part of the club, who's a good guy, by the way, but is Vice President Mike Pence, but Mike Pence is part of the club. And again, how easy would it be for you only need 20 of the 53 Republican senators to say, wait a minute, I think here's our historic opportunity to remove a president none of us like. And again, the conventional wisdom is the president's going to get acquitted in the Senate trial. It's going to be a slam dunk. But my whole point is, and the point of these two staffers that I was speaking with was, let's not assume that. And as I said in the piece too, one of President Reagan's favorite lines was, okay, let's trust but verify here.
So how do you verify? Because I go back and forth, Douglas, on this. I look at what really happened and what really went on with the Democrats in Ukraine and this whole thing with the press. It must be exposed. With that being said, I'm not sure it will be exposed because I think people like possibly Lindsey Graham, what's his name, Turtleface, in the Senate. Yeah, McConnell. Thank you. I think these guys wouldn't. They don't want things exposed either. They want to continue to play in the club, and they probably are dirty along the same lines as what the Democrats have looked like they've been up to. And Donald Trump is a hand grenade, and he went off and he exposed a lot of this dirt. And I'm not sure that there are people on both sides that want this to stop.
Well, I agree with you in that sense, too. What I always tell people that are fresh to the United States that don't understand the system, I said, amazingly, if you watch the movie Mr. Smith Goes to Washington,
yes,
which was made 80 years ago, and you look at the Taylor machine and what's going on as he's controlling various members of the Senate, basically nothing has changed since the time that movie aired 80 years ago. And that's one of the things where Trump is coming in, and he is the disruptor. What Nikki Haley, Governor Haley, said, one of the reasons so many people dislike him
yes,
is he is a disruptor that can't be controlled. And so to your point, it's one of these things where who can you, in fact, trust? And my point and the point of these stoppers is, well, don't trust anybody because ultimately there's a historic opportunity here for 20 Republican senators to change history, to invalidate the votes of 63 million Americans who voted for President Trump, and to join with basically, Glenn, the deep state and create this unofficial coup and remove a legitimately and constitutionally elected president of the United States. It really is chilling.
Okay, so why do you think that this has a chance of happening? Because when they were talking about articles of impeachment, look at the numbers with the people. The people are not for it. The Democrats are even having defectors. When they started this, they said, we think we could probably get 10 or 20 Republicans on board. They couldn't even get all Democrats on board for this.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing, and that's the conventional wisdom, right? And again, the conventional wisdom says 99.9% chance, the Senate's going to acquit, everyone's going to be happy. And I do suspect that may be the case, but the whole point here is I think the Trump White House is going into this with eyes sort of, if not fully closed, somewhat squinted in terms of what's going on in the Senate, what conversations are taking place, who can we double check with, and what can we be doing that we're not doing right now to protect ourselves and to protect this president. And I'm a little bit surprised that there's at least no conversation emanating from the West Wing of the White House that publicly puts these guys on notice. I think that would be a smart strategy.
So, Douglas, what are the things you're watching for as a political consultant? What are the things that you're watching to see if this tide is going in or out?
Well, I think one of the things that people should be paying attention to are what conversations are taking place. Are any conversations, and this is where you have to have sort of insiders that are leaking some of this information and saying, are there conversations taking place between certain senators in the West Wing? Are there certain conversations taking place between certain staff members in the vice president's office? I mean, there's a lot of different things that are happening beneath the scenes. And it's one of these things where this is such a unique opportunity. And as we know, before, President Clinton was never going to get impeached. President Nixon resigned before he could go through this. But it's a totally different dynamic, Glenn, with Donald Trump, because he is a one-man band. Washington, D.C. has never seen anyone like him in its history. He basically got elected by himself. And so for all those reasons, and to your point about this club being, even whether it's Lindsey Graham or Mitch McConnell or others, he is a disruptor that they would, if it was a perfect world, as we both know, Glenn, and if they could just flip a switch and make him disappear,
they would
do it tomorrow.